corporate governance. The ability is to see through that, we actually are having to support all stakeholders. It's also support the bigger words such as the inclusive economy. And if you look at the dimensions of the economics itself, the economics in terms of the company or the organizations are more in the areas of leadership development, talent development. Why leadership development? Why leadership? Because leaders actually secure, more or less make the business secure for and given the environment that all the employees and managements can work and be able to contribute values to the market. Another sustainability is put in the perspective of the business, running the business, is actually managing the change. How do we manage the change? In these areas, we are talking about innovation. And how can we compare that to the environment? In fact, the nature or the environment change all the time, and one of the very true nature is a constant change. Our imaginations, our knowledge is a result of what we learn from what we imagine and from what we have taken actions upon. These are the three pillars also for the sustainable business. Very similar to the global sustainability concept. Now, if we look down to the individuals, you can see that the values are so-called the ethical values, the key ethical values. It doesn't apply to also the societies, doesn't only apply to the company, but also apply to the individuals. And that is what the sufficiencies economy, the principle of His Majesty the King talks about, is actually applicable to all levels until the very small units, such as families and individuals. So the ethical values in this sense is we are talking about the caring, the sharing, the gratefulness, the abilities to actually be able to include other people as if it's yourself. The ability is to recognize that the best of the security is to support each other. So if you look at from the point of views of the economy itself is to create productivities, wealth, in fact, to create job and actually provide all of us with the securities. And it's the same for the leadership, and it is the same for the individuals. Anything that touches the securities of the people, anything that touches the security of the organizations, anything that touches the securities of the country, actually create discomfort. And most of the time, the differences create the shake the securities. So with these securities where we wanted it, and more or less you can call it sometimes the comfort zone. Anything that shakes our securities, we actually respond. But how do we respond? We respond whatever shake our securities with hatred. We see the differences of opinions, the differences, the way we compete to each other. How do we respond? Or we respond with sharing? Or do we respond with kindness? Something similar applied to another pillar, which we talk about the desire. all this materialistic and how we evolved, the values that we are giving to each other derived from this desire. Some people call it dreams for the individuals. You can call it, the knowledge as well. A lot of imaginations give us the inspirations to learn and actually to strive to get even more knowledge. So how can we deal with this desire? How can we deal with all these speculations? How can we deal with, our dreams? So if our sense of security and if our sense of desire, our dreams and imaginations could be born by the ethical values, the dream will become great dreams. The knowledge will be used in a sustainable way. The technology will become a great tools. And at the same time, if you look at anything that shake our securities at different levels, if we can base or bond that security sense with our true natures, with the ethical values, the caring and the kindness, we will be able to see the differences that check our securities in a totally different ways, and we would react also differently. So I think this is, again, my understanding of how the sufficiencies economy derives from His Majesty the King. And this is also the principle that we are willing to adapt and change and make ourselves on the right foundations and to grow on the right path and in a sustainable way as a company. So I would like to say that with all the 17 goals, sustainable goals, all these issues that we discuss about human rights, all these issues that we are talking about, the environmental concerns that we have, is not about talking about who is right and who are wrong. It's about building the right ethical values and as a fabrics of our societies. And I think that is a very important part of sufficiencies economy. And with that, we can actually learn and actually use the knowledge, use the technology. Once a person asked me, you are the telecom guys, you connect everyone with 4Gs and broadband, and now you have societies which always put their head down and look at the mobile terminals. And all the students are playing games. And by the way, how are you going to solve this? This is going to be the problem for the future. And my answers to the person is that technologies cannot give love. If the parents actually care about their children, they should show and act upon their caring. And that's become the seeds and the fabrics or at the micro levels that could ripple and bond it, into the society. Once one of the NGOs also asked me, I'm in a very small fishery town. It's getting smaller and smaller every day. The fishery is industrializing. How can I make my village sustainable? My answer to them is that, well, that's the same questions we ask ourselves every day in CP Group. CP Group is a community of 300,000 employees, and we continue to ask ourselves, how can we be sustainable? And the answer to ourselves is that we have to focus on these ethical values. We have to focus on the core values of the organizations. How can we pass on the right and the sustainable values and culture to the next generations? That's the same thing. And secondly, how can we address the development of leadership and entrepreneurship and the management of the talents, development of the people? So that is the second pillar that we ask ourselves. And the third thing is that how can we actually be able to continue to innovate and adapt our company? So these are that I could tell you as the head of the village. And if CP Group could be of any help, we would help you in these three areas. Because the world will continue to change. You know, we evolve from the farming industries, but many developed countries have now less than 2% of the population of farmers. And we will evolve again toward the digital economy. We see the rise and falls of the traditional business and the new businesses. The new landscapes have changed. And how can we evolve through those change and differences and gaps with peace and prosperities? And for that, I think the most valuable things that is given by His Majesty the King in his sufficiencies economy, the very foundations is two things. One is the moral principles, the ethical values, which is the very fundamentals of human being. Second is knowledge. And in fact, I would like to conclude that within our lifetimes, my lifetimes and your lifetimes, maybe 20 years, 30 years from now, what else can we pass on to our children? Nothing much. In fact, you would say that, Supachai, you have a lot of wealth and assets, you can pass on all those to your children. And I would say that will be a poison to my children, because they will not know the sufficient way. They will not know the sustainable way. The only thing that we can pass on to the next generations is actually the knowledge and our moral principles, the love that we can share, as His Majesty the King have shared to us through his sufficiency economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pichai.
From your side, what does it mean? How you identify sustainability?
Steve, you want to give that a go?
Yes, if I, very briefly, my perception is the word sustainability is now changing the way it's being used around the world. And it is morphing into this new concept of sustainable development. The way I've observed this, it's like two streams coming together into a big stream. We had the traditional notion of sustainability coming out of the environmental side, a sustainable ecology, circular economy, as you were discussing, and then on the other side, from Millennium Development Goals, was development. And I think what has happened in the United Nations, in the G77, is very important of that, is the coming together of a concern for everything being sustainable, and yet at the same time we have growth. I would also suggest that the concept of sustainability moving over into the economy was driven by the collapse of credit markets in 2008, as Dr. Prasaran was pointing out. When you have great financial houses, such as Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers, disappear, they were not sustainable. They had billions of dollars and they were not sustainable. In my country, in the United States, as people recall, every major financial institution would have gone bankrupt if the United States government had not stepped up. People were shocked, and they began to realize what His Majesty had been talking about a long time ago, that even in the economy, even with big companies like Thai Bev and CP, you have to worry about economic sustainability. But that also is in the context of markets and growth. So my sense is we're at a beginning of a new era thinking about these things.
Does it mean that we are using local sources without affecting new generation, for example?
I think if you apply the principles of sustainable development and SEP, they apply at every level. So if you're looking at a community, a small village community,
That is someone else going to join you or not?
One of our key activities in the social areas is in the educations. And, we start to invest into the so-called the Pupanya projects on the educations area, involve now more than 60,000 schools. And, one of the stakeholders just asked me, Supachai, why are you spending this money? Your companies actually are not even break even yet. Okay? And I say that, if the company cannot spend or leverage on our strength to help, in the greater good of the societies or the economy, then we should just shut down the business today. Because if we can leverage the abilities of the company to the greater good of the societies, even though it's not directly making our business good, but it will make the society sustainable. And if we live in the society, in a bigger society which is sustainable, we will be sustainable as well. If no one actually think of doing that and always think about let's just make profit, then it's very difficult for us for the business itself also to grow in terms of their thinking. And the thinking will never be rounded enough to actually create the right competitive advantage in the long run. And that's the basic beliefs. Now, the second challenge is that if you go into these sustainabilities, even for CP Group, I'm now leading the sustainabilities under the vice chairmanship for CP Group. And some of the management of CP Group on the agro side also asked me, so Bachai, there's a lot of cost to this. So if you keep doing this and doing that, making the contract farmings more reasonable as partnership, sharing upside, just protect the downsides for the farmers or the contract farmers, you will incur more costs. How can we compete? And my answer would be that, but our sustainability depends on how much can we innovate. And if we can take up such a pain point of the economy of the societies with innovations, we have to force ourselves to think of how can we actually be able to take care of these issues and at the same time lowering our cost. So we force ourselves further to be more innovative, to look at the way we can actually resolve some of the pain points for sustainabilities with our creativities. And we did in many projects. I don't want to waste more time, but we did. And our people are so proud about it. And the pride that people take into making the business be able to address certain pain points through its strength, not everything, through its strength and its abilities, make our people actually take more ownerships and willingness to participate and help drive the company to the success. And that is again through many projects already. So I want to say that there's certainly a lot of upside. There's a lot of cost or risk that we have to take, but there's a lot of upside as well.
Khun Thapana, do you have any quick comments regarding this?
Sure. On the very first question. And the afternoon session will resume at 2 o'clock at the backside of the room in the World Cafe exhibition. And we will have Associate Professor Dr. Wishita Raktham to guide us through the interesting works of some of Thailand's major businesses on their application of SEP. And I would also like to announce that we will have lunch downstairs in 2 rooms, Niche and Brasserie Europa. For panelists and moderators, you are invited to the niche, and for all the rest of our distinguished guests, you can have free seating in either of the rooms. So please kindly make your way downstairs. And if you have not already done so, please do not forget to return the headsets at the registration desk. Thank you.